We'll recognize Ranking Member Crow for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to pick up on the line of question and some of your answers about how a more inclusive workplace and how leveling the playing field makes us safer and actually furthers the mission of the State Department in the best interest of the American people. And one of those has been a lot of discussion around race and ethnic background, but also gender is a very important part of the mission of your office. And there's been a lot of efforts in Congress actually around this, and I'll give a lot of credit to my friend Mr. Waltz, who actually is a founding co-chair of the Women, Peace, and Security Caucus in Congress. There's actually a recognition that getting women involved in reducing some of the systematic barriers to getting women involved in peace and security actually makes us stronger. And I couldn't agree more with that effort and give Mr. Waltz a lot of credit for helping lead that and open the aperture, if you will, for women in peace and security. So I'd love to talk a little bit about that and hear from you, Ambassador, on some of the efforts of your office on gender equity within the department and some of the successes you've had in that regard.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, and thank you. Certainly the role of women everywhere is important and in the Department of State. So we support the work of the retention unit because we do anecdotally believe that we lose women in higher proportion than men. So we're looking at that. We're looking at the drivers of attrition and how we can retain women. We've also stayed in very close touch with the executive women at State who focus on these issues as well. A very recent policy, and it may seem small to those who do not go and work in classified areas overseas, but we all do when we go to missions, to embassies, to consulates, as well as in the department, classified workspaces and lactation devices, motherhood, and making it easier to be a mom and take care of your child while working, and that is a lactation device that is allowed into the classified spaces. This was a huge push. It was something that was very clearly stated by the women in our organizations. That's something that either they have need now, or may need in future, and want to make sure that they don't have to make career decisions based on whether they're going to be overseas or not. So that's something that's been really important. One of the things we're looking at, of course, is housing. A couple of things. One, to ensure that every mission has a house that is accessible, depending on what our employees need, and my staff has worked really hard on working with other bureaus in the department to put that together. Bathrooms that are accessible, that are all gendered, single use, all gendered, and also have water in them for ablution or other purposes that can be used for any number of groups within the department that help them do their jobs better with fewer distractions, fewer time delays. So we will look for what comes out of the retention unit to take additional steps from there, but absolutely making sure that we all can do our jobs without additional burdens and distractions is a focus.
Thank you for that. And you've had a career that spanned over 30 years at the department. I would love to just hear from you in the final time that we have on how the landscape has changed for women at the department over the last 3 decades.
Oh my goodness. Well, nobody thinks I'm their secretary anymore, so that is a wonderful change, I must say. One of the challenges still is that you can walk into a room and see few women inside, so that hasn't changed as much as I would have liked, but I also walk into many rooms where there are half of the room is female, and that means that we are really getting the people in place that should be there. We have a lot to contribute. I'm a NEA hand, so NEA has always been forward-leaning with sending women around the world, trusting our capabilities, our language ability, our cultural effectiveness. As you know from my bio, I was the first woman to lead a diplomatic mission in Saudi Arabia. It was an amazing challenge, and one that the Bureau, the Department of State said, you can do this, you can represent us. And that privilege is something that is unmatched, even by being a U.S. ambassador, the top job. But that ability to show who we are as a nation and that we say your ability determines your destiny doesn't get better than that. So,
Thank you. My time has expired.